Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Rank, and I'm the volunteer coordinator for Project Purpose. And today we have the pleasure of having Brandy on our call. Brandy is a long-term volunteer of ours, and she's going to just share some of her experience with us. So Brandy, thanks for coming on with me. My first question for you is, how long have you been volunteering with us?
Since the very beginning. So I think that's about 10 years. And I'm guessing because I'm terrible with time, but since Project Purpose started.
That's great. Awesome. And can you share a little bit about the student you work with or have worked with, their grade levels?
Yeah, I've worked with mainly girls, although occasionally if my students don't show up, I do get the pleasure of working with some boys as well. And the age ranges or the grade ranges go from probably about fifth grade up to senior high.
Okay.
So lots of different ages, lots of different grades. And I don't have a favorite. It's nice to work with different ages and grades.
Yeah, that's great. That is great. Um, my next question for you is, what has been one of your favorite moments with your student or just a student that you've had this past year?
Um, well, this wouldn't be this past year. I can think of
Yeah.
one of those, but I
No,
did
that's
want to
fine.
share a moment that I just still look back on fondly. And that's when one of my students invited me to her graduation.
Hmm.
And that she was actually, I think, the first one in her household to graduate from high school. So it was just really special. It was special that she asked me to be there. I had been working with her since she was about sixth grade until she graduated. So it was just really special to be able to be at her graduation and to see that accomplishment.
Yeah, that's great. And I think when you've invested in a student for so long, and you're meeting with them weekly, to see that accomplishment in their life is so big. And just really sweet that she invited you to that.
It was one of the best tutoring moments I've had.
Yeah.
It was very special.
Yeah, and I think as a tutor, sometimes you question, it can be easy to question am I making an impact? We don't see those big moments in our students' life every day. But when we can have that consistency in their life, we get to see those moments and it's just encouraging.
Yeah, and it's that consistency that I know is difficult for people. So I would encourage them. I mean, even myself, we always travel for business in January,
Mm,
and it's difficult to be away during that time. I feel guilty about it, but
yeah.
I just encourage everyone to do what they can, and as consistent as possible. That consistency is what helps students, but sometimes you can't always be there every single day, but for as much as you can, the students just appreciate it whenever you show up. They're just happy to see
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. Um, and then my next question for you, Brandy, is what has been something that has challenged you in tutoring? And then kind of follow-up question to that is, what did you find worked well in that situation?
What's often challenging is the things that you can't control. So, for instance, I've got a student right now who was not able to come to tutoring because she wasn't doing well enough in school. And so her mother decided not to let her come to tutoring. And so those things are frustrating. It's frustrating when things happen. Parents are making decisions that you personally think are not in the child's best interest.
Mm,
You don't think it's anything that you need to call the police about, or it's
yeah.
social services, but you
Yep.
see some of these decisions that parents are making. And what's been helpful to me is I always remind myself that I'm not walking in this parent's footsteps. I don't have
Mm,
the life experience that that parent is going through. And so I just remind myself that I need to give them God's grace
mm,
and trust that what is working, even though that He is working behind the scenes. And even though it may be frustrating for me, some of these decisions that are made, and if a student can't come, or if a student comes and you feel like they haven't had enough to eat, or they're not,
Yeah.
their clothing may not be in the shape that you would dress your own child. And you see the decisions are being made that you would not necessarily make. You just have to try to overlook those things and just know that God is working behind the scenes, and you only have control over that period of time with that student. So
Absolutely.
it doesn't mean that you can't reach out and, pick up that student and buy them some clothes and be encouraging to that parent. But, those are the biggest struggles that I have. Like, oh, why is that parent making that decision? So, just know that God is in control.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good practical piece of advice for those situations. And then Brandy, my last question is, what is a piece of encouragement or advice you would share with a new volunteer?
So this is a good question, because even though it was lots of years ago, I remember being that new volunteer and thinking, I am not making any impact. I don't
Mhm.
understand the math. I
Right.
don't know how to conjugate verbs in Spanish, whatever it is. I was banging my head against the wall and thinking like, oh, am I where I'm supposed to be? And then slowly over the years, I realized it's not about the tutoring. It's
Mhm.
about just being there for your student. And it's okay if you don't have the answers. And it's even okay if you give them the wrong answers. I've
Right.
done that already. I've been like, oh, remember that project we worked on last week? I did some research and I steered in the wrong direction. But the important thing is really just the time that you're spending with students. So in the beginning, I used to really focus on the task at hand and the work. And now I make sure to check in with the student and say, how are you doing? How's your day? What's going on? And it eats into the time that we're working on the actual homework, but it's just so valuable. So
Yeah.
that's my piece
That
of
is
advice.
great. I love that, Brandy, because every student needs a cheerleader. And you're so right. Like the academic piece, it is important, but like checking in with your student and just asking those questions make an impact and really positively affects them. So, Brandy, well, if you are okay, I would love to pray for you, and then we'll end the call. Okay.
I would love that.
Great. Thank you. God, we just want to thank you so much for Brandy, for her heart for her students, Lord, and just the different experiences that you've given her throughout tutoring. Father, I pray that you continue just to encourage her in her relationships with her students and their parents, and just remind her that she is making an impact for your kingdom. We just pray this in your name. Amen.
And thank you, Sarah. That was
Yes.
lovely.
Yes. Thank you so much, Brandy.